Right now at 6, local organizations react to the passing of former President Jimmy Carter.
Now we got a chilly start to the day, cloudy, windy. Eventually we'll see some sunshine. We'll have a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, police seek information on a vehicle regarding last week's dumpster overfill in Afton, Oklahoma.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Snowe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is Tuesday, December the 31st, and that means it's New Year's Eve.
Yes, it is.
We are knocking on the door of 2025, and so if you are planning on celebrating and you're somehow awake at this hour and will still be up tonight, please do so responsibly.
Yes, it's very important.
Very important. And also be prepared for very cold weather. Maybe consider watching the ball drop indoors tonight,
because it's thing to do.
That's not a bad idea.
No.
Maybe next to the fireplace, or at least with the heat on, a blanket, some hot cocoa, because it's going to be pretty darn cold tonight. But as for today, many of you still got to go to work. You got things you got to do. You got to know what to expect, and you need to take a coat with you today as well, because it's going to be cold and breezy and just it's wintertime, and it's really starting to take hold across the area. Let's start you with a quick look outside. Our camera in downtown Pittsburgh. There it is, and off in the horizon you see the city lights reflecting up on the clouds. We do not at this time have any significant fog, at least none that's popped up on the fog tracker, but we do have some pretty low ceilings out there, so that's why we're getting the city lights reflecting off of those low clouds. Our camera 7th and range line, you can see some of those clouds as well. Maybe hard to tell on your TV for sure, but they're right in that area there. And we head down to the MoDOT camera at 20th and range line. Again, you can actually see some of the clouds just right up here at the top of this thing. So it is a bit of a cloudy start to the day. Eventually, as we head into the afternoon, clouds will clear from west to east. Now, under typical normal circumstances, those of you out west where the clouds clear a little earlier, especially as early as noon, you'd get warmer. You're not going to, unfortunately. We're all going to just really hover in the low 40s for the most part of the day. As we enter the evening, we'll have mostly clear skies, still a few lingering clouds. We're having the gusty winds today. They'll ease up a bit this evening, but they'll still be gusty overnight. It won't be until tomorrow that they'll start to calm down a bit for us. 41 in Joplin, 41 in Pittsburgh. And again, these temperatures across the region will not move that much today. We still have some upper 30s, a whole string of 39s on the 54 corridor, and points south for the most part into the low 40s. But once you factor in the winds, gusting up to about 30, 35 miles an hour this morning. Feels like 29 in Iola. The rest of us still feels like it's in the 30s, so it definitely feels cold, and it will be that way through today. We'll keep our wind chills back into the upper 30s through most of the day. Clouds, again, gradually decreasing. Temperatures just kind of hovering in the low 40s, but they will drop tonight. Once those clouds clear out, there's nothing to keep in even the 40s, and we'll fall back into the 20s tonight. So that's why you need to make sure you are prepared if you're celebrating outdoors to bundle up. Now, this is going to feel nice compared to what we're expecting about a week from now. We have that polar vortex on the way. Details on that, and maybe even some wintry precipitation here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. Although President Jimmy Carter may no longer be with us, his legacy continues to live on. The 39th president dedicated much of his life to advocating for affordable housing, providing quality homes for those in need. And through the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project, he helped build and renovate over 4,000 homes. We spoke with Joplin residents to hear their thoughts and reactions following the passing of this 100-year-old leader.
He was very pleasant man. He went out of his way to shake as many hands as possible.
Fantastic humanitarian, very kind, decent, wonderful man who devoted his life to being a servant leader.
Well, some local residents said although they weren't affiliated with the same party as the former president, his hard work and dedication were undeniable. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has called for flags to be flown at half-staff in honor of former President Jimmy Carter. The governor made the announcement yesterday in accordance with Executive Order 230 and the proclamation signed by President Joe Biden. The flags are to remain at half-staff until January 28th. Jimmy Carter was the 39th president of the United States and was awarded the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize. And to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. Authorities in Cherokee County responded to a rollover crash yesterday morning. Now, the crash happened just before 10 a.m. Now, on scene, responders discovered a cement mixer truck had overturned near BNFS track outside of Columbus. Reports say the truck dropped its rear tires off the edge of the road and it pulled the whole truck down. The driver sought medical care for minor injuries. The Afton Police Department needs your help in identifying this vehicle. Authorities seek information on the vehicle in connection to a dumping incident which took place on Friday. The incident in question resulted in the removal of a dumpster from behind the Afton City Hall. Trash on Friday piled over the dumpster until the excess piled up around the area. Now, trash services were unable to empty the dumpster as the area was too piled up with garbage to get near the dumpster. Authorities believe they may have a suspect who is abusing the public dumpster. Now, they've asked the public for any information regarding the vehicle or the incident. The Joplin Police Department has some sobering advice for drivers headed into the new year. New Year's Eve will mark a night of celebration for many people in Joplin, and for some, alcohol will be involved. Captain Will Davis from the Joplin Police Department says there are plenty of options if you plan to make alcohol a part of your New Year's celebration.
Number one, we want to curb alcohol-related fatalities. Number one, this isn't the time of year where you want to be involved in a crash, especially where it impacts somebody's life or a family member's life. Somebody loses their life, and so you have those things. You have serious injuries that can happen on top of criminal-related charges that the potential felony charges that could come from it. And
to learn more, you can head over to our website. Of course, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. Pittsburgh Police Department is encouraging people to put safety first on New Year's Eve. Now, they're also making efforts to keep the roads safe through a partnership with KDOT. The partnership, called Taking Down DUI, will have more officers on the roads to patrol and make sure people aren't driving while intoxicated. Now, this initiative takes place from December 26th to January 2nd.
Well, they want to go home to their families just as much as you do. So just make sure that you're considerate of everyone else that wants to spend time and enjoy the holidays.
He encourages people to plan ahead for New Year's Eve and make sure you have a ride if you plan to drink. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes, coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Disney is making an effort to simplify its park offerings to help guests visit the park on a budget. Plus, memorial services for former President Jimmy Carter are set to begin this weekend. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Tuesday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look of the Glide in downtown Fort Scott. Topping Nation Watch this morning. A special New Year gift for drivers. Gas prices are expected to drop in 2025 for the third straight year. Gas Buddy expects the national average for regular gas to fall to $3.22 a gallon. That's about 10 cents less than in 2024. According to Gas Buddy, if the projections hold, the typical household should spend about $2,250 on fuel next year. But gas prices could be disrupted by several factors, including President-elect Donald Trump's threatened tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Well, Disney is making an effort to simplify its park offerings so guests can more easily figure out how to do Disney World on a budget. Now, on Monday, Disney announced free dining plans for 3-night Walt Disney World guests who buy a park hopper ticket. They have to arrive between May 27th and June 26th or July 7th and August 6th. Dining plans get ticket holders a couple of meals, a snack, and a refillable mug for each night of their stay. Now, they're usually offered as an add-on purchase. Disney World also previously announced other money-saving perks such as complimentary parking at resorts and something it used to charge for. Well, soon the public will get a chance to pay their respects to former President Jimmy Carter, with memorial services scheduled to begin this weekend in Georgia before moving to Washington, D.C. Now, already many Americans have traveled to Georgia to honor his legacy. The Carter Center says the 39th president was surrounded by his family when he died peacefully Sunday at home at the age of 100. Nicole Valdez is in Atlanta with more on how people from across the U.S. are paying tribute.
A steady stream of visitors have descended on former President Jimmy Carter's home state of Georgia in the hours since his death. In Plains, they flocked to his boyhood home.
We saw the sign for the historical site on the road, and I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like we have to go.
And to Maranatha Baptist Church, where Carter taught Sunday school for years.
The life that Jimmy Carter lived certainly was that of a human saint.
At the Carter Center in Atlanta, tributes of flowers and messages are growing. While at nearby Manuel's Tavern, patrons also gathered to remember the former president who was a regular.
Even though we all knew it was coming, it was still a surprise, that he's gone.
Decatur, Georgia resident Kathy Keeler stopped by after lighting a candle for Carter.
So did you just kind of want to be here and sort of be among that history, that memory?
I did. My whole life he's been a big part as a leader in our country.
Memorial services are set to begin this weekend here in Georgia. A motorcade will carry the former president through his hometown of Plains, bringing him to the Carter Center to lie in repose. He'll lie in state at the U.S. Capitol on January 7th until his state funeral 2 days later in Washington.
He's going to be missed by many, not just by Georgians, but by those around the world.
Afterwards, Georgia's only president will return home for a private burial. Nicole Valdez, CBS News, Atlanta.
President Joe Biden is set to deliver the eulogy at former President Carter's state funeral. Biden has declared that date, January 9th, to be a national day of mourning, with many parts of the federal government expected to be closed. And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got some clouds out there. Skywatch Storm Tracker showing us those cloudy skies, and they are going to stick around for a bit, but eventual clearing later today. Another look at your forecast when we come back.
Well, elves are known to get into some mischief around the holidays, visiting the homes of children and causing a little chaos. But two elves in Maine took things to a whole other level when they escaped just a few days before Christmas and ended up in handcuffs. Morgan Strudavon has the story.
I was kind of impressed and mad at the same time.
And who could blame 8-year-old Landon Moody for that reaction?
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Do these look familiar to you?
Yes.
When he opened the door to find Sergeant Moat from the Ellsworth Police Department on the other side, just a couple of days before Christmas.
I tried to steal my police car and go for a joyride, so I had to arrest him. Yeah.
Wait, but they weren't there.
They must have escaped. They got loose and they tried to steal my car.
The police caught them trying to go into the police car.
He says his elves, Jack and Snoop, have been quite the troublemakers this year.
Jack, the first elf, he was fine all along. He did like tricks and stuff, but then when Snoop Dogg arrived, they just got worse.
Landon's mom, Ashley Moody, says she's grateful to have such supportive officers in her community and that they decided to let Jack and Snoop come home before Christmas.
Oh, they must have escaped.
They got loose.
It was perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better officer to come out here and do that.
They must have escaped while we were at Grandma's house for Christmas.
I don't think you can touch them.
Nope, right? Mom's going to hang on to them.
That's what they told me. Don't hand them to you. All right.
Look at that.
Why things?
I guess they caused a bunch of mischief while we were out, huh?
Of course, she got the whole thing on video, which instantly became a hit online.
I figured it was a funny video and we'd share it, and I didn't I didn't expect it to explode like that.
And while Jack and Snoop might be back in the North Pole until next year, this is one Christmas memory this mom and son will get to keep forever, thanks to these two pranksters, the kindness of Sergeant Moat for letting them off the hook this time.
All right, guys.
Thank you
Merry
so
Christmas.
much. You too. Oh my goodness. These naughty elves.
I can't wait to see what they do next year.
Now, 8-year-old Landon says Santa asked if he could put Jack and Snoop on house arrest with Landon before they head back to the North Pole, and he happily agreed. Now, maybe they won't get into more trouble. I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's head over to Chris with a quick look at the forecast.
Yeah, we've got ourselves cloudy skies out there, chilly temperatures and breezy. Got another full look at your forecast right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:22, coming up on 6:23 on this Tuesday morning. Sorry about the future track for today. As we head into the afternoon, we'll have clearing skies from west to east. It'll take a minute, but these clouds will eventually roll out of here. It's still going to stay breezy, though. At temperatures, there's not a lot of movement. We're going to spend most of the day just kind of hovering in the low 40s. We'll have a few clouds late this evening and overnight, and it'll still be breezy, but the winds ease up a bit, only gusting to 20. So that puts our wind chills tonight back into the low 20s and upper teens. So if you are celebrating New Year's Eve responsibly, of course, you'll want to make sure you bundle up if you're heading out, because it is going to be pretty darn cold as we roll into 2025. We'll have a few clouds for our Wednesday. Another day like today, though. The winds will be calm, but we're only going to make the low 40s for our highs for the majority of the area. Then as we go into Wednesday night, clouds will thicken up. Then we get to the interesting part, and this is what kicks off the interesting week ahead. Thursday. Take a look at the temperatures, low 30s, okay, below freezing. So if there's anything falling from the sky, typically it's some kind of wintry weather. Here's where it gets a little tricky, and this is what we've talked about, that freezing line. All it takes is that freezing line shifting a mile one way or the other. It can throw everything into chaos. We're looking at, on the future track, it's showing maybe some light snow early Thursday morning, depending on temperatures. Now, if it's a little warmer when this wave moves in, this will be rain. If it's a little colder, it'll be light snow. We're not expecting anything significant one way or the other, but if it does fall as snow, it could lead to some slick spots across parts of southeastern Kansas and into Missouri, especially I-49, parts of 69 out there. So we'll have to watch it and see exactly how the temperatures play out by Thursday morning to see exactly what it is that will be falling. Now, it won't last very long. In fact, we'll even be warmer as we head into Thursday afternoon. We're looking at low mid 40s by noon. So anything, if it does fall as snow, it'll melt and be gone pretty quickly, because we'll get sunshine in here and into the upper 40s, even into our southern counties. Then it gets even more interesting as we head into the other part of the weekend. Let's take a quick look at temperatures, though. We're going to skip right to the region. We're looking, still got 39s, a lot of those along 54 corridor, some upper 30s. Most of us, though, into the low 40s, but with that gusty northwest wind, it feels like 29, Iola and Nevada. And the rest of us, it does still feel like it is in the 30s, so it still feels pretty darn cold, and that's how today will be. We'll have those gusty winds out there. So even though our temperatures will be holding into the low 40s, our wind chills will be back into the upper 30s. Cloudy skies to start, and then eventually, again, clouds begin to clear out. The sunshine, though, has no major impact on our temperatures. We, again, just kind of hover out there. Northwest winds still gusting upwards of 35, gusting upwards of 20 tonight, so still chilly. I had very cold wind chills out there. Mostly clear skies back into the the mid to upper 20s. Then we get into Sunday, all right? Sunday afternoon, rain starts to work in. Then as the temperatures fall, transitions possibly into some freezing rain. And then as the temperatures continue to drop, you can see we got a big blanket of snow out there. Now, we're still several days away. A lot can change, especially with winter weather. It's too early to really give you good estimates on any kind of accumulation, but this could be our first winter event of the season, winter weather event, rather, of the season. So we'll have to see how this plays out. That snow, though, could linger into early Monday morning, so we could still be dealing with that. So we'll have to watch it carefully, especially kids. A lot of kids going back to school by that Monday morning. We'll have to keep a very close eye on exactly how this pans out. What I do want to show you, though, is then that polar vortex moves in. Take a look at temperatures. 17 by 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning, 18 by 5 p.m. In fact, during the day Tuesday, temperatures will actually fall back into the low teens. Overnight into Wednesday, we're starting Wednesday morning in the single digits. So we're talking dangerously cold air getting ready to set in by next week. So if you need to do anything, get your house or your car ready, now is the time to do that. We'll see how Thursday pans out in terms of temperatures and the rainfall or snowfall. We're cold into the weekend. Sunday kicks off that temperature drop, and we start settling into, again, the dangerously cold air. That polar vortex, that cold air, could last for a full 2 weeks. So just make sure you're ready out there. Just check out your forecast. We're going to send it over to Elise now with a Health Watch.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, states with strict abortion bans often make it harder for mothers to get financial or food assistance. A review by the Associated Press found women in Tennessee and other states that restrict abortion had less access to maternal care, less access to Medicaid, and faced doctor shortages. Now, this all makes it harder for families to provide children with a healthy childhood. Older drivers with depression are more likely to get into car accidents. A study published in JAMA found drivers who either take antidepressants or experience depression had more hard braking and hard cornering incidents than drivers without depression. Now, while the reasons aren't known, this study suggests psychiatrists should consider the impact of medications on driving abilities. And teens who abuse substances have different brain structures than those who don't. A study by the National Institutes of Health found those differences show up before teens use drugs, suggesting that genetics and environment can influence which children are more likely to use controlled substances as they grow older. That's a look at Health Watch. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, Fort Scott Synthetic Ice Skating Rink adds a few more dates to its schedule.
And it is cold outside. It's going to be windy. We've got clouds to start. Eventually, we'll have some clearing. We'll have a look at that forecast. Get you out the door coming up.
Plus, as we approach the new year, we take a look back at the year's top health stories.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:31. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is Tuesday, December the 31st, New Year's Eve tonight.
Yes, bringing in the new year.
We'll be bringing it in asleep. Yeah. That's probably the best way. You get older and it's just not as exciting.
I feel like this might be, because I was on the weekends during this time, this might be the first time that I won't be up at midnight. So maybe I'll just pop up real quick.
Maybe.
You never know.
Yeah, go to bed a little earlier,
fun, right.
Wake up a little
still
earlier,
fun.
No big deal. I guess you could do that if you want. But if you are celebrating tonight, again, please do so responsibly.
Absolutely.
And also bring a coat if you're doing anything outside, because it is going to be quite cold. Let's start with a look outside from our camera in downtown Pittsburgh. What we've got is clouds, and they will eventually go away, but they're not going to do that just yet. We'll have to watch them here for a little while. Heading down to 7th and Range Line, you can see again those clouds. There's that, because we do have a somewhat low ceiling. You can see that cloud line out there. And we go to the MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line, you can see that same cloud line right through there. Eventually, like I said, though, the clouds will clear. In fact, the future track shows us when that starts to happen. It happens as early as noon to our far western counties. However, Yates Center, Fredonia, Coffeyville, Bartlesville, you're going to see the sun a lot earlier than your neighbors to the east, but it will have no impact on your temperatures. We're expecting it just to stay cold. It's going to stay breezy, and we're just really going to hover in the low 40s through most of today. And then eventually tonight, because we will have just a few clouds here and there, temperatures are going to drop, and it's going to be down into the 20s tonight and still breezy. So that's why we're saying bundle up. 41 in Joplin right now. It's come down to 39 in Pittsburgh, and temperatures around the region holding into the upper 30s and low 40s across the area. But you see those wind arrows out in the northwest. They're gusting 30, 35 miles an hour this morning, putting our wind chills into the upper 20s for some. Most of us still feels like it's in the low 30s, so you want to bundle up even if you're just heading out the door this morning. Highs today, again, just hovering recovering, low 40s, skies gradually clearing, and again tonight, falling back into the mid-20s, but with the gusty winds still at 20 miles an hour, it's going to put those wind chills, low 20s, maybe some upper teens. So again, do bundle up if you're heading out tonight, or if you're staying in. Just, get by the fireplace, watch the ball drop on TV where it's nice and warm. This, again, is going to feel nice compared to what's about to roll into the 4 states over the next week or so. We'll go over those details with you here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, avid readers and adventurers have a cool hangout to gather at this Friday. The Nevada Public Library is hosting a cozy camp-in. The event takes place from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. and will feature reading forts in the stacks, quiet reading time by flashlight, games, snacks, and more. And the winter holiday season is almost over, but the Glide in Fort Scott is adding a few more dates to their schedule. The Glide is Fort Scott's synthetic ice skating rink. The extra hours are today from 4 to 9 p.m. and Wednesday from noon to 4 p.m. All skaters are welcome and entry will only cost $5. Your last opportunity to skate the Glide this season will be this weekend. Lagging vaccination rates lead to a record cases and deaths for several viruses and the extra benefits from weight loss drugs. Michael George looks back at the year's top health stories.
Studies showed weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have wide-ranging benefits from Alzheimer's disease to kidney function to addiction. They're so popular, copycat versions popped up.
They have not been safety tested. We don't know if they're as effective as the prescription drug.
The CDC says 2024 had 4 times the number of measles and whooping cough cases than the previous year. Pediatric deaths due to influenza hit a record high, due in part to lower vaccination rates. The American Red Cross declared an emergency blood shortage, with donors at a 20-year low.
People need to realize it's not that hard, it's not that much time.
Dozens of cases of H5N1 bird flu have been confirmed in people. Most infections are traced back to contact with farm or wild animals. Mosquito-borne illnesses caused some panic this summer. Several Massachusetts towns issued voluntary lockdowns in the evening to prevent infection of triple E.
These are recommendations. They're not hard and stop requirements.
A CBS News analysis found foodborne illnesses have increased 42% since 2013. They caused several high-profile recalls, including for E. coli at some McDonald's and for deadly listeria in Boar's Head deli meat.
They're happening more frequently.
The American Cancer Society found colorectal cancer is now the leading cause of cancer death in men under 50, and the second leading cause of cancer death for women of the same age. A separate ACS report shows Generation X and millennials have a higher risk of developing 17 cancers compared to older generations.
It's likely an environmental aspect, whether that's diet, lack of exercise, some other exposure.
The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force now recommends women start receiving mammograms at age 40 instead of 50 and get screened every other year up to age 74. Research from the Annals of Internal Medicine shows alcohol use spiked during the COVID-19 pandemic and stayed high through at least 2022.
People don't know where to get help. They don't know that they need help.
The CDC says opioid overdose deaths slowed to the lowest level since 2020 after peaking in 2023.
I'm blessed to have received this gift, a second chance at life.
And Tawana Looney became the 5th American to receive a gene-edited pig organ. Researchers say this experimental procedure could be a game changer someday for the thousands on transplant waiting lists. Michael George, CBS News.
Hurricane Helene also wreaked havoc in the medical world in 2024, closing a North Carolina manufacturer that left hospitals low on IV fluids. You can join us tonight on KOAM News at 10 when we bring you the notable obituaries from the past year. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A new study suggests that more Americans plan to ring in the new year at home. And we have a windy and cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look of the Glide in downtown Fort Scott. In Consumer Watch this morning, New York officials are preparing for up to 1 million people to pack Times Square for tonight's New Year's Eve ball drop. But a survey from the Associated Press and the National Opinion Research Center found that a majority of Americans intend to ring in 2025 quietly. Of the 3/4 of adults who said they plan to mark the new year, 72% said they'll celebrate at home. Now, 21% said they'll head to the home of a friend or relative, and around 5% said they plan to go to a bar, restaurant, or event. Well, millions of workers across 21 states will get a pay raise for the new year due to minimum wage salary increases. Now, experts at the nonprofit Economic Policy Institute say almost a third of working Americans live in a state where the minimum wage is $15 or more. Now, still, the federal minimum wage hasn't budged from $7.25 in around 15 years. And this week, Krispy Kreme is offering some sweet deals to help usher in the new year. Now, fans can get 2 dozen donuts for $20.25 with free delivery through the New Year's Day. Now, for the weekend, Krispy Kreme is selling a dozen donuts for $12. And that's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're going to start with a look outside once again. Downtown Pittsburgh still have those cloudy skies out there. You can see the city lights reflecting on those clouds. We head down the 7th and Range line. If you look, you can see the cloud line right through here with those lower clouds out there. No fog across the area, which is good because yesterday was pretty foggy. And you can also see those clouds just right below the banner here on the MoDOT camera at 20th and Range line. Future track into the afternoon. Skies will clear gradually from west to east. Still going to be breezy today. Unfortunately, even if you get some extra sunshine, it will not have an impact on your temperatures. We're looking at just kind of holding in the low 40s. We'll eventually go mostly clear later this evening. That will allow temperatures to gradually drop into the 20s tonight. Pretty cold right now though. 41 in Joplin, 39 in Pittsburgh. And again, temperatures have not really fluctuated all that much through the morning, nor will they through the day. So we got upper 30s and low 40s across the area. But then you factor in that northwest wind gusting upwards of 30 to 35 miles an hour right now. Feels like 29 in Iola and Monette. The rest of us, it feels like it is in the low 30s. So a pretty cold start to the day indeed. We're going to have another full look at your forecast here in just a moment. Talk about the wintry weather that may be on the way and that big Arctic blast next week. And it's almost time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. Those are coming up after the break. But first, here's what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, we'll look at New Year's Eve security around the ball drop right here in Times Square and show you what the weather will be in your area to ring in the new year. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, it is time for some of those Tuesday birthdays, and we are going to start in Arcadia with Madeline Pryor celebrating birthday number 9. Happy birthday.
And a happy 10th birthday to Julie Pettibon. It says, love Dad, Mom, Katie, Papa, and Gamma.
And we've got Rowan Miller celebrating birthday number 14. Says, love you from Aunt, Uncle Jess, Granny, and Papa.
And heading over to Nevada, happy 30th birthday to Matthew Cornell.
And to the west in Chanute, Emily Melton also celebrating birthday number 30.
And happy 31st birthday to Kinsey Cowan in Parsons. It says, love from your family.
And in Iola, Amy Utley celebrating birthday number 59 today. Happy birthday, Amy.
And in Crestline, happy 54th anniversary to Jim and Judy Ganaway.
And in Parsons, Bonnie Baker celebrating another year wiser. A very happy birthday and anniversary to all of you on our list. And if you would like to celebrate with us or celebrate your loved ones, Elise has information you need right now.
Yes, go ahead and submit those birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to include those photos and messages to meet the deadline that you see there at the bottom of your screen, and to also include the date of your celebration when submitting as well.
It's very important to include all of that information, and you will want to include a coat if you have outdoor New Year's Eve celebrations planned for tonight, because it's going to be cold. Got a lot to talk about. We're going to go over it piece by piece, starting with today. By this afternoon, clouds gradually clearing from west to east. Now, again, under normal circumstances, if you got a little more sunshine, like our western counties will, that would typically mean you'd be warmer than those who didn't get as much sunshine. Not going to be the case today. We're all just going to kind of hold out in the low 40s through today. We'll have those gusty northwest winds to keep our wind chills back into the 30s. Again, we will eventually clear out. Now, we'll have mostly clear skies tonight, and without that cloud cover acting as a blanket, it's going to get cold tonight. So if you are celebrating responsibly, of course, we're talking about falling back, most of us, in mid to upper 20s, which will put our wind chills, because it'll still be breezy tonight, back into the low 20s and upper teens in some cases. So be prepared for that cold weather. We go into Wednesday. It's going to be very similar to today. The key difference is the winds will be calmer as we head into Wednesday afternoon. Upper 30s by noon, and we'll eventually again make into the low 40s. Now by Wednesday evening, clouds will start to gradually increase, and overnight Wednesday we go straight up cloudy, and you can see it's not a huge impact on temperatures, but see how it stops them from falling too far. Now back into the low 30s. Then Thursday morning arrives, and Thursday morning is what starts an interesting set of events here in the 4 states. Future Track at this time is showing the possibility of some light snow Thursday morning and maybe some light showers. We're thinking rain at this point because take a look at the temperatures even where the snow is. Right above the freezing point, okay? And we have to have very specific conditions to get snow. The Future Track believes it will fall as snow. We're thinking more rain, but this goes back to that whole thing we've talked about in the past. All it takes is the freezing line shifting a couple of miles one way or the other, and it throws all this into chaos. If the freezing line shifts a little further north, makes it warmer down here, and this will all be rain. If the freezing line shifts a little further south, that increases the chances of this being some light snow. Now, that's some of the good news. This isn't expected to do much one way or the other, whether it's rain or snow. But if it does fall as snow, it could lead to some slick spots for the Thursday morning commute out there, so it's something you need to keep in mind. And we'll keep an eye on it, keep an eye on these temperatures, because that'll have a huge impact on what falls Thursday morning. Regardless, we're going to warm up enough by Thursday afternoon that anything that does fall, if it is snow, it will melt pretty quickly. We're already in the low 40s by noon, and even up where the snow may be, we're still talking low to mid 40s out there, so melting would take place if anything did come down. So again, not a major concern, could lead to slick spots, but it will be short-lived. And for the rest of Thursday, it's one more halfway decent day before things really start to change up. Quick look at temperatures. Joplin, it is cloudy. It's 41. Those northwest winds gusting to 28, making it feel like 33. Temperatures across the area are into the upper 30s and low 40s. So overall, not bad, but with that gusty northwest wind, it's putting our wind chills back into the upper 20s and low 30s. We've got 29 in Iola as well as Monette. Most of us, though, still feels like it's the low 30s. Not like that's a big difference from 29 to 30 or 32, but it's still technically not in the 20s. So feels a little better, but not by much. So through the morning, cloudy skies. Out west, though, you'll start to see some of that clearing by late morning. Temperatures not moving much, just holding out in the low 40s, maybe some upper 30s. We'll eventually make the low 40s today and just kind of sit there for a while. Gusty winds, clearing skies. Tonight, again, skies continue to clear. Just a few clouds out there, back through the 30s by 10, and eventually into the mid-20s for most of us overnight tonight. Now, the winds will calm down again tomorrow, and that will be great. Then we go into Sunday. Yeah, let's take a moment and look at all this blue out here, something we haven't seen for a little while. Sunday could potentially be our first real winter weather event of the season. We're still several days out. There's 100 questions between here and there. And again, it goes back to the temperatures on exactly what happens. But here is what the current thinking is as of right now. We are looking at starting as rain by Sunday afternoon. Temperatures will begin to drop. Now transition to maybe a wintry mix, some sleet, maybe some freezing rain, unfortunately, and that would not be good. We don't like freezing rain because that leads to ice buildup. And the freezing rain also gives something for the snow to stick to a little better. As the evening progresses, temperatures continue to fall. We see this transition to snow. It's still way too early to even give a guess as to how much snow could possibly fall, but this is something we want to watch closely. Also because Monday is when a lot of kids are going back to school. Maybe some folks are going back to work. This could throw a little bit of a wrench into those plans. So by Monday morning, we're left with some light snow, and then that should clear out by Monday mid-morning, and then we'll just be downright cold. And that's the other part of this I want to show you real quick. Take a look at Tuesday morning. upper teens to start the day. Temperatures actually fall into the low teens in the afternoon before they rise again a little bit. And by Wednesday morning, we are starting in the single digits. So that's that Arctic air rolling in, that polar vortex settling in, bringing us dangerously cold temperatures. So a lot to watch as we head into the weekend and next week. And if you got to make plans, but get your house, your car ready for this cold weather, now is the time to do it before it gets that cold. We'll have one more look at your forecast and the news you need to know. And when we switch over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., we're going to see why a hotel in Finland is known best for its unique way of blending in.
And here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Leafton Police Department needs your help in identifying this vehicle. Authorities seek information on the vehicle in connection to a garbage dumping incident that took place on Friday. Now, trash services were unable to empty the dumpster as the area was too piled up with garbage to get near the dumpster. They've asked the public for any information regarding the vehicle or the incident. And authorities in Cherokee County responded to a rollover crash yesterday morning. On scene, responders discovered a cement mixer truck that had overturned near the BNSF track outside of Columbus. Reports say the truck dropped its rear tires off the edge of the road and it pulled the whole truck down. The driver sought medical care for minor injuries. Well, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has called for flags to be flown at half-staff in honor of former President Jimmy Carter. The governor made the announcement yesterday, as well as the proclamation signed by President Joe Biden. Flags are to remain at half-staff until January 28th. Jimmy Carter was the 39th president of the United States and was awarded the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
As you head out the door, it's cold this morning, chilly today, low 40s, just kind of sitting there. Skies gradually clearing, northwest winds gusting to 35. Northwest winds still gusting to 20 tonight, so as skies clear, temperatures fall back into the mid-20s. So if you're celebrating tonight, make sure you are bundled up out there. We're going to be chilly again tomorrow. We're watching what may fall Thursday morning. Could be rain, could be a light snow. We'll see how that pans out. Chilly into the weekend. Sunday kicks off the polar vortex, wintry mix possible, maybe some morning snow on Monday. Temperatures plummeting next week, though, so be prepared. We're talking dangerously cold temperatures next week.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making Rise and Shine breakfast bake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, one organization in Iowa is working hard to put musical instruments into the hands of passionate musicians.
And Charlene Patton back in the studio with another incredible recipe. However, that's going to wrap it up for us for now. We will see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.